Hey everybody, welcome to Top 10 Thursday on the Mana Leak. I'm John as always, and I'm going to make a push to have a Top 10 Thursday every single week from now on. I have a set of Top 10 Thursdays that I'll be doing for every single set as they come out. Things like today's, as well as the ones that you already know, such as the Top 10 cards I was wrong about. In addition to that, I have a whole bunch of one-off Top 10 lists that I've thought up that will fill in the gaps. But from here on out, I'm really going to try to have every single week a Top 10 Thursday. But without further ado, today is going to be the top 10 card arts in Shadows over Innistrad. Now, obviously, this is going to be a little bit more of a subjective list. My enjoyment of art, it may not be your enjoyment of art. And so I absolutely want to know, what is your number one card art in this set? What art do you just love? And for what reason? Let me know in the comments down below. But without further ado, we're going to get right on into number 10. Up first at number 10, we have Lambholt Pacifist by Ryan Pancoast. It's not just a clever name, I do find this piece of art really peaceful. It's a really tranquil feeling piece. I love the forest setting, the colors used, that nice little cottage that's nestled back there. But most of all, I love the sort of living tree cloak thing that she's wearing. It just looks really cool. Sure, if nobody casts a spell, then she flips into a giant, terrifying werewolf with the crushed dove still in her hand. But let's just ignore that, shall we? And just admire how nice and pleasant feeling Lambholt Pacifist is. At number 9, we have Relentless Dead by Ryan Yee. This piece makes this list primarily because it's a reference to a previous card, and I love references to older cards. I actually don't really care for the feel of this piece too much. It feels kind of like a screen capture of a video game cinematic. I think it's supposed to be a sort of smoky, fiery sort of effect going on inside this church, but really it just doesn't quite get me there. It doesn't quite make me enjoy the piece. But this is a direct reference to Endless Ranks of the Dead, also done by Ryan Yee back in the original Innistrad. That card shows a whole bunch of zombies pounding on the stained glass of a church, trying to get in, but not quite being able to get there. Several years later, at least one zombie has made its way through that glass, and I really enjoy that reference. I do really enjoy callbacks to previous cards, and so number 9, Relentless Dead. At number 8, we have Inexorable Blob by Niels Ham. This is a great blob. It both looks formless, while at the same time looking like it does have arms and legs and mouths. Multiple, plural mouths. It's a really cool feeling blob. There is some nice sort of movement in the piece as well. It feels like the blob is just like slowly coming and coming closer. It's not, running, and it's not flowing. It's just kind of oozing as blobs do. But also what really gets this card on the list is a reference to a previous card. Completely randomly on the back wall, and I'll zoom in right there, is Ancestral Recall, or at least the guy from Ancestral Recall, Mark Poole's famous art, one of the Power 9. Very cool little reference. I love that Niels Ham just put this random reference into the card. Definitely enjoy it. Number 8, Inexorable Blob. At number 7, we have Pact Guardian by Philip Berberon. The colors in this are great. The weird sort of ghostly green, eerie glow on the Guardian looks really cool. Also completely missed by me until I was actually making this list is the little wolf pup that's hiding between its legs. That's the tutu that you make when you discard a land. Putting this card in the running for cutest set just because of that little tiny wolf pup. I love it. I love the green in this. Green's not really one of my favorite colors, but I do love the sort of ethereal green glow that some people can do in their art pieces. And so number 7, Pact Guardian. Up next at number 6, we have Broken Concentration by Clint Searly. This piece is just so good at displaying madness. Reality is shattering like a mirror. It's cool that each shard kind of shows further physical damage, so some of the shards closer into his face look normal, and then his eyes kind of go bloodshot and really sunken, and then he's got broken teeth, and then off on his hands are the weird little tentacle things that are happening all around Innistrad for some unknown Emrakul reason. Just a really cool card. I love the symptoms of madness and just showing the sort of reality smashing effect in a piece of art. It's not easy to pull off, and I think it was pulled off here. So, number 6, Broken Concentration. Number 5, we have Engulf the Shore by Cliff Childs. I really like landscapes in magic art. but they usually don't have too much action or movement going on. They're usually a tower sitting there, or a forest sitting there, or a mountain sitting there. There's not much going on. In this case, this is a really nice sort of seaside setting with a cool lighthouse, and there's a couple little buildings and cottages there. And there's a gigantic tidal wave that's going to crash in and just demolish everything. Not only that, but there's something not immediately obvious at the card size, but when you blow it up, you notice there's a giant tentacled monster in that wave. This obviously had a lot of people going, "Oh my god, it's Merit Lage," or "Oh my god, it's Emrakul." Personally, I think it's just a Kraken, which, after Thing in the Ice, has been shown to be a creature type that exists on Innistrad. So I do think it's just some sort of octopus Kraken thing. I don't think it's Merit Lage. I don't think it's Emrakul or one of his brood. I think it's just a really, really, really cool piece of art. So, number 5, Engulf the Shore. Number 4, we have Heir of Falconwrath by Jason Rainville, just the front half of Heir of Falconwrath. This is a pretty traditional sort of regal portrait style of an aristocratic vampire, and it just looks like a really solid example of that. The real reason this makes the list is, again, a sort of little reference or Easter egg in this art, and it's the bat. What bat, do you ask? Well, it's the bat that's made of the white space kind of on her shoulders and chest, and the necklace makes the eyes. It's just a really cool little Easter egg, a cool little use of negative space and of white space. Something that's not totally obvious if you don't see it immediately, and then once you see it, you can never unsee it. So you're welcome. Heir of Falconwrath, number 4, and her crazy Easter egg bat. At number 3, we have Macabre Waltz by William Murray. I do not like this art at the card level, at the card size. When I first saw this at card size, Liliana's face looked really strange. She looked like a cartoon character. I think it was a shadow of something that made her chin look like it was really long. I really didn't like this when I first saw it. But when I went through this again at a high-res art, it became much nicer to me. The art is just a great sort of comical piece, which we don't really get too often these days. Spoiler alert, there will be a top 10 comical, funny, jovial pieces of art from Magic's history list in the future, but we don't really get those too often. So I am glad to see this, where you have Liliana dancing with a zombie, and there's an angel in the background playing a violin, and an angel in the background playing a trumpet, and it's just a really fun little piece of art. Not only that, but after seeing this at the full-size resolution, this actually might become one of my favorite interpretations of Liliana, after, of course, the iconic Steve Argyle version. But I just really like this version of Liliana after seeing it at full kind of resolution and not seeing that she actually looks like a demented cartoon character, like I kind of see her on the card size. But anyways, number 3, Macabre Waltz. Number 2, we have Toppled by Seb McKinnon. I love this ghost. Lots of ghosts on Innistrad are evil, terrible things that want to haunt your dreams and stab you in the back and just be generally nightmarish. This guy knocks over candles, possibly while going boop. He's not evil, he's just kind of a jerk, and not even that bad of a jerk. He's kind of like a cat, really. He just knocks stuff over. I love this art. I love the ghost just booping over a candle. So, number 2, just barely not making number 1, is Toppled. Making number 1 on my list of the top 10 card arts in Shadows over Innistrad is the card art that most people have probably talked about and examined, Triskaidekaphobia by William Murray. Again, his second entry on my list. There's just so much going on here with the number 13. There's 13 boards on the wall. There's 13 boards on the ceiling. There's 13 utensils hanging from the rack. There's 13 drops of blood. There's 13 bolts on the barrel. There's 13 logs in the fireplace. There's 13 stones in the fireplace arch. There's 13 pieces that the plate is broken into. There's 13 stones on the front face of the fireplace. And that's just in the art. If you look at the card text, there's 13 words in both bullet point choices, and then there's some really reachy, stretchy things, such as there's 13 characters in the artist's name, if you count the space. I'm going to say that was probably a coincidence, but there's enough actual intentional 13s on this card that it just makes me super happy. I love the work that went into this art. I am really curious what the art direction was for this card. Did Wizards give examples? Did they say, for example, put a plate broken into 13 places? Or did they simply say, hey, William, make as many 13 references as possible? I would love to see what the order was for this card. But anyways, that's going to wrap it up for the top 10 card arts, in my opinion anyways, in Shadows over Innistrad. I definitely want to hear what your number 1 card art is in this set. Let me know in the comments down below. As well, if you do have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at The Mana Leak. That's L-E-E-K, like the vegetable, not the card. And you can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/The Mana Leak. You can also find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/The Mana Leak. I've just started live streaming there roughly once a week, but I'm also going to hop on there whenever I have a chance, so definitely make sure that you do follow there. You also have the comment section, as I mentioned. If you enjoy my videos, please click the thumbs up icon and click subscribe. That way you'll be able to keep on top of all the latest videos as they get posted. But as always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, see y'all next time.